August 6th, 2023. It's LCJ Live. Hello, I'm Lights Camera Jackson. Happy Sunday. Welcome to the show. As we pay tribute today to Paul Reubens, Pee Wee Herman, who passed away at the age of 70 after a battle with cancer. What an icon. Pee Wee's Playhouse, the Pee Wee movies. Tim Burton did a nice tribute on Instagram the other day. The Broadway show, which I had the chance to see, was about 11 or 12 years ago when he went to Broadway for a limited run, and then he came out afterwards in front of everybody. There was a little section there where he had a megaphone and was answering questions and interacting with everybody. And Paul Reubens also, let's not forget, contributed to the Smurfs franchise with a voice performance. He also did a show called You Don't Know Jack for ABC, which I really liked when I was younger. I just thought, this is a wild game show. You Don't Know Jack, I remember that. Paul Reubens will be missed. The Pee Wee Herman character has lived on through the show, the movies, just a fixture in pop culture. I know Paul Reubens made some appearances on some game shows and like To Tell the Truth and some talk show appearances. And over the last several years, he had some other movie roles as well. He will be missed. What a loss for the entertainment world. As I put up the other day, my list of the 100 greatest television shows of all time, my personal favorites. Pee Wee's Playhouse is on that list. The movies are so fun. Of course, the Pee Wee's big holiday Netflix movie was released a few years ago. I think that's definitely getting some eyeballs and some attention currently on Netflix. So, your number one movie at the box office once again is Barbie with another $53 million. It's at $459.4. Check this out. It's now the second highest grossing Warner Brothers movie of the 21st century, only behind The Dark Knight. Wow. It passed The Dark Knight Rises, which came out in 2012. It's now number 2. It's amazing. Just amazing. If you're watching here live on YouTube Live, thank you. And you can send in your questions and your comments. Number 2 goes to Meg 2, The Trench, which made $30 million, which is more than I thought it was going to do. I thought it was only going to do 21 or 22 million. It did 30. Wow. Here's the thing. The first Meg, when it came out in 2018, in August, so 5 years ago, it opened to 45 million and it totaled 145 million. It was this movie that everybody thought, oh, I got to see this shark attack thriller. It's Jason Statham. It's summertime. It's escapism. But I thought that movie was too tame. When it comes to the sequel, it's very lame. It's one of the worst action sequels I've ever seen. And yet it still made 30 million this weekend, which I think Warner should be happy with. I think people remember the first one, remember liking the first one, like Jason Statham, and wanted to go see it. We're curious enough to go, even though the reviews from critics pretty much across the board are terrible. Terrible. It's a terrible movie. It gets everything wrong. The humor, the story, the visual effects, the editing, the acting, everything is just terrible, laughable, corny, ridiculous, idiotic story decisions. And yet this movie still made $30 million this weekend. Now, it is paired with Barbie and some drive-ins around the country. Some of them have it as the first showing. Some of them have it as the second showing. But yeah, 30 million for Meg 2. Now, could it have a big drop next weekend down to maybe 10? Yeah. Look at what Haunted Mansion did this weekend. Haunted Mansion went from 24 million last weekend down to 9 this weekend. It's up to 42 million for Disney. Ooh, that's a big drop. That's a big drop. I guess it'll get to 50 million. It may not do much more than that. Ooh. I guess it'll do better on Disney Plus when it's there for Halloween. Maybe sooner at this point. Speaking of movies going to streaming services and things, The Flash, I predict, based on the HBO website and everything, is going to be on HBO on August 26th, which means it'll be on Max probably a couple days earlier than that. The Flash has only made 108 million domestically. That is the same amount of money that Dune made for Warner Brothers back in October of 2021. Yeah, it's made the exact same amount of money as Dune. Dune was Warner Brothers' highest grossing movie of 2021. And people thought, oh, well, at least people went to see it in the theater. Some stayed home and just watched it on HBO Max. In the case of The Flash, it was just a theatrical release. You had to go to the theater to see it. But they've made the exact same amount of money. A lot of people say, well, if Dune was just in theaters, it would have made more money. Probably. But it's an interesting fact as we head into Dune Part 2, opening in the first weekend of November. So your third place movie this weekend is Oppenheimer with another $28.7 million. It's at $228.6. For Universal, it is the fourth highest grossing non-Illumination, Jurassic, or Fast and Furious movie of the 21st century for Universal. So you take away all the Jurassic movies, you take away all the Fast and Furious movies, and you take away every animated movie from Illumination. And Oppenheimer is the fourth highest grossing film for Universal of the 21st century, if you take those others away. Wow. It's going to pass Bruce Almighty. It'll be number 3. It still needs about 30-something million to pass Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, which made $260 million back in the year 2000. And number 1 on that list is Meet the Fockers from 2004. We're talking about a 19-year-old comedy that is still the highest grossing non-Jurassic, Illumination, or Fast and Furious movie for Universal of the 21st century is a 19-year-old comedy. Wow. That's how big that movie was back in 2004. And Oppenheimer could surpass it. Oppenheimer could become the new biggest in that category for Universal. We will have to see. Now, number 4 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, which I saw last Saturday. There were nationwide pay preview screenings. 28 million Friday through Sunday, but from Tuesday to today, plus the pay previews from last Saturday and last Monday, it's at $43.1 million, which I think is a good number for this movie for Paramount. The 28 million 3-day is just shy of the 29.5 million 3-day that Elemental opened to back in June. But again, if you look at this 5.5, 6-day, whatever you want to call it, open for Ninja Turtles, it's technically 43.1, which is a good number. It's bigger than, I think, the last Ninja Turtles, 2016, Out of the Shadows, brought in 35 million in its open, only totaled 82. The first Ninja Turtles was a $65 million open. It totaled 191 in 2014 for Paramount. So at this point, I think this Ninja Turtles has to make more than $82 million. Will it get to 191? That depends on the next 5-6 weeks. Because this is your big animated movie. This is your big animated theatrical release. There are others. But as far as theatrical release for families, major release, this is it. I believe until Paramount has their next one, which is Paw Patrol The Mighty Movie on September 29. And when it comes to that movie, all that film has to do is beat $40 million and it can outgross what the first one did, which was a simultaneous release in theaters and on Paramount Plus. And I think it can do it. I do. So this Ninja Turtles is going to carry through Labor Day, which will be big for families. If the theaters decide to do National Cinema Day again and the lower ticket prices, we saw last year when that happened. Minions: The Rise of Gru had been out for 2 months and it helped it a little bit. It helped DC League of Super Pets tremendously, adding another few $1 million that it wouldn't have made if the ticket prices weren't that cheap for families to go see that over that weekend. So I think Ninja Turtles can get to 100 million. I think Paramount will be happy with that. Paramount's in an interesting state right now because Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 still has not passed Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Mission Impossible added 6.5 million this weekend. It's at 151. Needs about 6 or 7 million more to get to where Transformers is at. I think it'll do it, but I bet you big that Paramount did not expect them to be this close. I mean, the last Mission Impossible made 220. We're at 151. Whoa. Here's what I think. I think, yes, Barbenheimer's a factor. The release schedule was a problem. The length of the movie and the number of screens it can be on is a problem. 2 hours and 43 minutes. It's a part 1. And in the end, the movie doesn't have a gigantic cliffhanger. So did it really need to be a part 1? I think that was a mistake. Just like Fast X, when Vin Diesel said it's the first of a 3-part finale, not a 2-part anymore, that allowed some people to say, I'm not going to go. I think the part 1 for this, for some people said, I don't need to see this right away. I'm going to wait. It's a part 1. Tom Cruise is going to be in the next one. Which, I mean, look at this time last summer, Top Gun Maverick was the biggest thing on planet Earth. $720 million domestically. Barbie is this summer's Top Gun Maverick, though the drop, I don't know, it's starting to slow down a little bit. It's at 459. Can it get to 720? It needs another $250 million, $260 million. I don't know. That seems like a lot to me at this point. But this weekend is really interesting because your biggest movie is The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which I think is going to tank. I don't see this movie making much money at all. In some theaters, it's Jules, which I have seen. My review of that is at lights-camera-jackson.com. It's a new sci-fi indie dramedy starring Ben Kingsley, which is okay, but it has a bad third act and really nothing comes together, which is too bad because I wanted to root for this movie, and you can't when nothing works as far as it all coming together. There's ideas that work. There's moments that are gold. But there's a lot of moments where you're like, really? And you can't take the movie as seriously as you want to. So Jules has a lot of problems. I don't know if Jules will get to $1 million this weekend. I don't know if a lot of people know about it. All that. Gran Turismo was supposed to come out officially this coming weekend. And Sony decided about a week and a half ago, nah, here's what we're going to do. We're going to sneak the movie in some premium format theaters in some locations around the country this weekend coming up and next weekend. But we're not going to have the movie go officially wide until the 25th. So, the 25th does have several movies out, including Liam Neeson's Retribution. Vacation Friends 2 is on Hulu. There's a Dennis Quaid sports movie called The Hill. Helen Mirren's movie Golda is out. And I think I'm forgetting one or two others. The 25th is actually crowded. Gran Turismo is going to make a lot of money. It's a great movie. I really enjoyed it. Is this strategy going to work? I mean, they could have just opened the movie this weekend like they were supposed to, but not in as many theaters. You could have made it a regular official release, but only open it in 300 places instead of calling them sneaks, and they may not reveal the money until 2 weeks from now. I don't know. It's an interesting strategy. I'm not sure if I completely agree with it. I understand they want the buzz. That's why they did the Regal Monday Mystery movie screenings of it. I'm glad I saw it. It's a very good movie. I really enjoyed it. It's a crowd pleaser. It's a crowd gets into it movie. It's got legitimate tension and drama and a career best performance from David Harbour. He's fantastic. Hi, Ryan Holmes. Thanks for the shout out here. And LCJ Live, thank you. I don't know. I would like to see Sony release the box office numbers for how this does because I think that's fair over these 2 weekends. Because they're not just doing one showing or even one showing per day. They're doing multiple showings per day at these locations. So I don't think Gran Turismo, if it was out this weekend, would have necessarily won the weekend box office. Barbie could make another 30 to 35 million next weekend, maybe. But Gran Turismo could have made 20 million out of the gate, maybe. I think Sony just wants the audience buzz, so we'll just have to see how this plays out. Could it be number one the weekend of the 25th? Maybe, but you've got Blue Beetle and Strays on the 18th. I've seen Strays. It's an interesting decision. At-home viewing this coming weekend, you've got Medusa Deluxe, which is on Netflix, or a VOD release, and Heart of Stone, which is on Netflix. I have not yet seen Heart of Stone with Gal Gadot. I'll be interested to check it out this week. Medusa Deluxe I have seen. It's this kind of one continuous shot murder mystery movie at a hairdressing competition. That's in theaters and on VOD for May 24. It's okay. It's got some parts that work, some that don't. Your interest kind of wavers throughout. It's not amazing, but it's different and a memorable final scene. So Medusa Deluxe, it's okay. So Barbie's probably going to win again because Sony decided to take themselves out. Which again, I don't know if I fully agree with the decision, but I hope people go check out Gran Turismo as soon as this weekend because you can. And if you want to pay the extra money to see it in a premium format this weekend, it's kind of worth it in this case. This is a rare case where I would say if you want to see it in a premium format to experience the races, yes, I say it's worth it. Other movies this weekend at the box office, Sound of Freedom added 7 million. I finally saw Sound of Freedom. I like Sound of Freedom for the most part as a movie. Yes, there are so many other controversies and things surrounding the movie. You look at it as a movie, and here's how I evaluate it as a movie. Here is a 2-hour, 5-minute, whatever it was, movie. A little slow. I would have edited some scenes. Pacing needed to go a little faster, especially in the first half. But Jim Caviezel is very good. Bill Camp is very good. The two main child actors are excellent. This is a tough movie. It's a powerful film at times with the story. Mira Sorvino's not in it a lot. Would have liked to seen a little more of Mira Sorvino, but it's a compelling film. It is. And as many have talked about, and one of the reasons why it's up to $163.5 million is because of the QR code that they show at the end of the movie with a special message from Jim Caviezel asking people to share tickets, allowing people to go see the movie, paying for tickets, and the message of why this movie is important. That is also powerful. And it's unique. And it's a strategy I think some people will steal and borrow from coming up down the line for other movies. Because look at what this movie has made. It's made $163.5 million. It's made more than Mission Impossible. It could make more than Indiana Jones. It's only about $7 million behind Indiana Jones, which added $1.5 million this weekend. It's up to 170.6. The biggest surprise hit of the year. Forget summer. The year, Sound of Freedom. And for a good film. Talk to Me. Added $6.3 million in its second weekend. It's at 22.1. It's the 9th biggest movie ever for A24. And it'll keep climbing up that chart over the next few weeks. We'll see how high it can get. It's not going to beat Everything Everywhere All at Once, Uncut Gems, Lady Bird, but it's going to get pretty high up there on that A24 chart. A film called Rocky Aur Rani Ki Rim Kayani added $1.6 million this weekend. It's at about $7 million. It was actually in the top 10 last weekend over Spider-Verse, but the results for it didn't come out until later on. So technically, this movie is now in its second weekend in the top 10. Films out of the top 10 this weekend include Elemental, which added $1.2 million. It's at $148.3. Disney will try to get it to $150. And Insidious: The Red Door, which added $1.1 million this weekend. It's at $80.6. Theater Camp added $570,000. It's at $2.4. I've recorded some new interviews for AnimationScoop.com as well as the LCJ Q&A podcast. They will be coming during the month of August. They include my conversation with Josh Greenbaum, the director of Strays. Also, my conversation with the makers of a new Snoopy special on Apple TV+. Snoopy presents One of a Kind Marcy from the Peanuts gang. It's a good short and a good special. And my conversation with them is coming soon. And tomorrow, you can get my LCJ Q&A podcast episode and AnimationScoop.com Q&A with Anthony Stacci, the director of The Monkey King, a new Netflix animated movie debuting August 18th. It's a good conversation with him. He was Oscar nominated for The Box Trolls, now with The Monkey King. And more Animation Scoop Q&As and LCJ Q&A podcast episodes are on the way for the month of August and beyond. So, when we're back here next Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern, your number one movie is probably going to be Barbie. We'll see how well The Last Voyage of the Demeter does. I don't think it's going to do a lot. And we'll see if Sony decides to release some box office results for Gran Turismo and technically open this movie instead of calling it a sneak preview. We'll see how it does. I'll be very curious to find that out. Plus, we'll see how Strays, which I have seen. I cannot share my thoughts, but I have talked to the director, Josh Greenbaum. We'll see how Strays and Blue Beetle will do. Another Warner Brothers movie. A lot in a row now. Barbie, Meg, Blue Beetle. Nun 2 is on the way. How will Blue Beetle do? We'll preview all of that next Sunday on LCJ Live. Thank you for watching today's show. Really appreciate it. As always, go to my Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter for a little while longer. I got to get used to calling it X. It's Twitter at LCJ Reviews. Instagram, that name hasn't changed yet, at LightsCamJackson. YouTube.com/LightsCameraJackson. The website is lights-camera-jackson.com. Thanks for watching LCJ Live. Rest in peace to Paul Reubens, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.